Hello YouTube, how is everyone doing? It's Professional here. So today I have a very special part 1 playthrough for you guys. This is going to be a playthrough, it's going to probably last pretty long because these games usually are pretty long. I'm going to play the entire game. And this series of games, I've been waiting for this game to come out for some time, which is the Apollo Ace Attorney Trilogy, which just came out today, but it's technically now we're going to the next day, the 26th. So that's when I'm going to have it up. But I hope that you guys like my cosplay for this. I'm dressing up as Apollo here. I tend to dress up as the characters for games that I play in, if you're new to the channel. And so I've actually played another Ace Attorney game on this channel before. If you guys remember, 2.5 years ago, we actually played the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, where you actually play as Phoenix Wright's ancestor, Ryunosuke, and that took place in London during the Victorian era. This one takes place in modern day. But basically, for people that are unaware of these games are anime-like games, but these games are very different than these games are very different than a lot of the other types of games that I play, because games, for example, like shooters, where you can be really good at the game, you can be really good at the game killing the enemies, a game like this is very different, because this kind of game requires a lot of critical thinking. So you could be like the best player at like, a first-person shooter, but you could be absolutely terrible at a game like this, because a game like this requires critical thinking. You have to watch what people say, you have to remember what people say, and you have to call out the liars, you have to call out the lies. So basically what the premise of the game is that you play as a lawyer, and you go to trial, and the trials are kind of very unrealistic. Like, I would say it's like 90% unrealistic. There are a few realistic things which I'll talk about, but the fun of the game is that you're trying to prove your client innocent. So where you play a lot of detective games, when you play in a lot of detective games, you're trying to find out who the killer is, who did it, basically. But in these games, is you have a client, you have somebody that has been wrongfully accused, somebody that is innocent, and you know they're innocent, and you're trying to prove them wrong. And usually the people that are testifying against your client, usually the people that you cross-examine during the trials, usually they have something to do with it, and usually they are guilty in it. And so basically you're breaking these people down, you're catching them in their contradictions, and when you catch a lie, and you expose a lot of these criminals, it's very satisfying catching these people in a lie, and sometimes it gets really, really hard. So I've never played this game before. I have played the original Phoenix Wright games, I've played those games, beaten all of them, and I have beaten all the great Ace Attorney Chronicles games, but I have never played this game specifically. So this game came out years ago, but now it's on PS4, and so I'm just really excited to play it. I love these games so much. They have a huge special place in my heart, so I hope that you guys enjoy this playthrough. My avatar on PSN is even Miles Edgeworth, which is one of the biggest Ace Attorney characters. So I hope that you guys enjoy this series. We're going to have a lot of fun with this. And also, for people wondering, I'm going to have the next part of Medal of Honor Pacific Assault later up tonight. And also, we're going to, play do a Red Dead Online stream later also. So anyways, let's get started on this. Always love the menu in these games. And the soundtrack in these games is just absolutely awesome. All of the Ace Attorney games have just such amazing soundtracks to them. Really good. Okay, let's start a new game here. So I've never done this game, so I don't know who the killers are going to be in these cases. Episode 1. Turnabout Trump. So this, basically, every single time you start a case, because there's multiple cases in the game, it shows you how the murder happens at the beginning, and sometimes it shows you who the killer is in the cutscene, sometimes it doesn't. So this is apparently what happened. Showdown time. You lose. I seem to be in a bit of trouble. Something like that. Dead. Someone hit him hard. Me? Please. The cops should be here any minute. I'm in your hands. Should it come to that. I know there's no voice acting in these games, but give it a chance, guys, if you've never seen these games, because the story is really good. The cases are really well done. And the reason I like these games so much is because I just love the investigation aspect of them, and I just always like trying to figure out who did it, and I always like law too. I do like law a bit. I did go to school for law enforcement technology, got a bachelor's in that. Did not end up going into that field. I did YouTube for a living instead. And when we go through these cases, I'll talk about what's realistic in these trials. But these trials, they basically combine a bit of American and Japanese law into these trials, which is a bit weird too. Like, for example, in the previous games, there was a statute of limitation on murder, and in America, there's no such thing as a statute of limitations on murder. That basically means the amount of time that you can prosecute a crime for. So once it gets past that time, you can't prosecute it anymore. But apparently in Japan, I think it was like, in the past, I think it's changed now, but I think it was like 15 years or so for statutes of limitations on murder, so I know that was like a big plot point in one of the earlier games. But like I said, the vast majority of the things you'll see in these trials are very unrealistic. I will cover some of the realistic things. Some of the unrealistic things, I'll point them out too. So April 20th, 9:37 a.m., District Court, Defendant Lobby number 3. So let me show you guys. This is the right here, what is, the court record. So the court record is basically where all your evidence is, your attorney's badge, this here. Smith's autopsy report. The time of death was around 2 a.m. April 17. Death caused by single blow to the forehead. Okay. Victim's name, Shaddy Smith. Male. Estimated time of death, April 17th, between 1:45 a.m. and 2:15 a.m. Cause of death, cerebral hemorrhaging resulting from blunt trauma to forehead. Okay, so that basically means that somebody hit him right here with a blunt object. A blunt object is something that's very hard, but isn't sharp. That's what basically a blunt object is. A blunt object could be like a baseball bat, for example. It's hard, but it's not sharp. You saw in that intro, he got hit with a bottle. It looked like a bottle, at least to me. Surprised it didn't break over his head. That's what's kind of strange. But that's basically what he died from. So we know that. Crime scene photo. Okay, so this is the victim. And usually there's something off with these photos. Something usually is out of place. There's something not right about these photos a lot of times, but we'll figure it out as we go through the case. We see, looks like that bottle right there could actually be the murder weapon. But looks like some kind of card game. Something went wrong. Another chair there. Somebody else was in the room with him playing. Multiple cards on the floor too. Might have been an illegal game, too. But anyways, let's go through it. Let's see what's going on. Panicked. Palms sweaty. I can admit it. I'm nervous. Good morning. Good morning, sir. You look tense, Justice. Wound up tight. Wound up, sir. No. I'm loose. I'm fine. That screeching noise. Is that your voice? I suppose it's to be expected. Your first trial, and it's a homicide, I guess. Justice doesn't start small, eh? I'm fine. Yeah, so a lawyer's first trial being a homicide and murder, yeah, that's already really unrealistic there. I got up at 5 a.m. to do my Chords of Steel voice workout. I'm fine. Ah, that explains it. I did detect a certain rasping quality to your screech. Cough, I overdid it again. As you know, your client today is a good friend of mine. I wouldn't want to let him down, if you get my drift. Drift gotten, sir. I'm all over that drift. As it happens, I dined with him the night of the murder. What? So, this guy is apparently your boss. Christoph is his name, and he knows the client personally. So the guy is being the defendant, the guy being accused of murder. He knows him personally, and not only that, he dined with him the night of the murder, so your boss could be is a witness, technically. He could be brought in as a witness. We can't let this case fall through. Yes, I'm fine, sir. One more thing. Don't say you're fine quite as so much. People might take you the wrong way. No. I'll be preparing our case. You might want to introduce yourself to the client. Who's the client? My name is Apollo Justice. If it isn't clear already, I'm a new attorney. And today is my first trial. Not that I'm worried or anything. The defendant has been accused of murder. My boss wants to help him out, of course, and so do I. I mean, there's no way he did it. Not him, no way. Whoa. Good, morning. Morning. It's all up to you today. First trial nervous, beating him cardiac arrest. That looks like Phoenix Wright, the main character from the old games. I think I'm supposed to say something. Help? Oh, you're... Fine. I'm fine. Ah, Mr. Fine, is it? I did remember you having an odd name. Well, we're off to a great start. Are you sure you're okay? I mean, with me. Mr. Gavin is a top-notch defense attorney, and he's your friend, so why... You'll see. You can do it. Be confident. I'm really sorry this happened to you, It's time. Shall we? Yes, sir. Okay, I need to focus. First trial. Here comes justice. So I usually try to sound what the characters are sounding like depending on the situation. District Court, courtroom number 2. The court is now in session. Okay, so this guy, this judge, he's a character in the old Phoenix Wright game, so he's back. So it's an old character that's already come back. The prosecutor, oh, Payne, yep. Payne has been an antagonist in the old games also. I recognize him. The prosecution is ready, Your Honor. Payne is a pretty incompetent prosecutor. The defense is, fine. Ready, Your Honor. Mind going blank. Don't panic. Too late. Your name was Mr. Justice, and this is your first trial. Yes, Your Honor, but I'm fine. Really. Are you quite sure? Your voice sounds a bit strained. Mr. Gavin. Yes, Your Honor. I was under the impression that you would be heading up this case. That was my intention, yes. However, a defense attorney must always see to his client's wishes. My client specifically requested Mr. Justice. Well, of course he wants justice. But to entrust this case to this greenhorn, why? I do not exaggerate when I say that you're the best defense attorney in town, Mr. Gavin. Okay, so Gavin's got trial experience, fine. Does he have cords of steel? Okay, then let's begin. The defendant may enter the courtroom. This is truly an unfortunate turn of events. I'm sorry we had to meet again under these circumstances. Long time no see, Mr. Wright. Yup, it's Phoenix, I knew it. He's the main protagonist in the other games. Let's put this, past behind us, shall we? These days, I'm merely Phoenix Wright, piano player. Mr. Wright? How could this have happened? I won't speak of it further, then. If the prosecution would be so kind as to explain the charges, Mr. Payne. To think I saw you enter this room as a fresh attorney, and now I'll see you leave in chains. So, Payne has something personally against Phoenix, as Phoenix has defeated him in previous trials, so he's gonna hate him for that. And a lot of times, the prosecutors in this game, a lot of times are scumbags. Some of the prosecutors are actually decent people, but a lot of times, a lot of the prosecutors are scumbags, and all they want is they just want a conviction. They don't care about justice. Winston Payne, subtle as ever, I see. The crime occurred at the Borscht Bao Club, a Russian restaurant. The defendant, Phoenix Wright, took the victim, a customer, and he hit him, wham, on the head, smack, killed him cold. Customer at the restaurant, you say. And the defendant, you say, he was the pianist for the club, it seems. Pianist, but he was playing cards. Phoenix Wright, a pianist? Oh wait, this is the weapon that took the victim's life. No, the victim wasn't the pianist, the defendant is. This is the weapon that took the victim's life, a bottle of grape juice. But why didn't it break over his head? Grape juice is apparently our defendant's drink of choice. Well, that's not really evidence. Just because something is somebody's favorite drink of choice, it's not, you see, it's not direct evidence. It really isn't. The courts accept as deadly bottles. The thing is, just because, look, the thing is, it's a club, so a lot of people are going to be drinking different things, and just because the defendant's favorite drink, the bottle happens to be the murder weapon, unless you can prove that he was drinking that specific bottle, then that's not evidence, but we're going to see what comes up. Deadly bottle added to the court record. Grape juice bottle used as a murder weapon. Bears the defendant Mr. Wright's prints. Oh, so his prints are on it. Oh, that's not good. That's really bad. Something to note, Justice. All evidence is filled in the court record. Make a practice of checking it frequently. The court record. Right. I've heard of that. Use R1 to look at the evidence so far. I'm confident in your ability to handle this. Okay. Grape juice bottle uses the murder weapon. Bears the defendant Mr. Wright's deadly bottle. Now, usually there's something about this stuff that we can see, that there's something off. Grape juice. How long has it been since I drank grape juice? Apparently, it's Mr. Wright's favorite drink. I wonder how well it goes with borscht. The bottle is completely empty. Yeah, and if the bottle is filled with grape juice, it's gonna be heavier, which basically makes it deadlier. That's the same thing, too. But it depends on the glass, but I'm surprised the glass didn't break. No clues here. I don't think there's anything else left here. Right, just as use R1. Sounds like it's time for some hands-on action. So, the victim was a customer at this restaurant. But just who was this Shady Smith? Shady Smith! Oh, how could I didn't even realize when I was reading the autopsy report, because a lot of the people have really funny names in this game. Shady Smith. That's his name. That's the murder victim. We believe he was a traveler, Your Honor. A traveler? According to his passport, he had been out of the country for a number of years. He had only returned to this country recently, through his place of residence is unclear. And he had some sort of connection with the defendant? That, too, is unclear at the present, Your Honor. We believe they first met at the Borscht Bow Club on the night of the crime. If they had only just met, then why murder? Perhaps the victim slighted the defendant's piano playing, so... The thing is, usually in a murder trial, you need to present some kind of motive. Not always, because, you know, you could be dealing with somebody that did a spree of the moment killing, but there has to be some kind of motive typically presented, and we're not seeing it at this moment. That doesn't appear to have been the case. No, the motive had nothing to do with the defendant's lack of playing skills, so he's talking about motive now. At least not piano playing. I'll let the photo explain what I mean. What's this photo of? Oh, it's the... Okay, as we can see, a game of poker was in progress at the scene of the crime. Wait a second. Isn't poker gambling? Yes, it is. That's a crime in and out of itself. Indeed. It appears a defendant. So, when that music plays, that's like the suspenseful music, it means usually you're in a bad situation. So when that music plays, it means something bad is going on. Has fallen to become the basest sort of criminal.
Objection!
It is true the defendant was engaged in a game of poker with the victim. Yet it was only that, a game, in the purest sense. A competition, Your Honor. A competition? Yes. A test of wits. A silent clash of passions. Only the cards, their backs reft in blue flame, know its final outcome. Come again? The cards on the table had blue backs, Your Honor. I believe the defense was waxing poetic in an attempt to mystify those present. And impress women. That will be our first order of business here, then. To find out more about this fatal game of cards. Very well, defendant. You will testify to the court about the poker competition held the night of the crime. My pleasure. This is it. My first trial, here goes nothing. Witness testimony. So, the testimonies play, this is the testimony the witness basically, well, I mean, technically he's a witness and a defendant, but he's basically testifying to his version of the events. And a cross-examination, what that basically is when there's somebody basically testifying against the defendant, saying, you know, he's guilty, I saw him do it, the defense has a right to question the witness. But let's see, the competition. I am a pianist by trade, yet I can hardly play it all, and the cross-examinations in this game are very important because you have to really pay attention to what the characters are saying. Sometimes it's easy, but sometimes it's really difficult to figure out exactly what's going on because there's something off usually in what they say. My real job is to take on interested customers over at the poker table. The room where we play and the competition is there are the club's main attractions. The rules are simple. We play a game of poker using 2 decks of cards. That's all it is, a game. And our customers are happy. Pianist who can't play a piano. Better than a defense attorney who can't defend. Very well. The defense may begin the cross-examination. Right, Your Honor. My first cross-examination. Don't blow it. Are you alright? You're sweating bullets. Bullets. Where? The figure of speech, Justice. Your voice sounds so strained and raspy, too. My brain feels strained and raspy, sir. You've watched me perform cross-examinations many times. Though you've never done one yourself, have you? Care for a refresher? What to do? Did I ask Mr. Gavin for a refresher in cross-examination? Refresher, yes. Better safe than sorry, especially this early in the game. Yes, teach me. I know nothing. Indeed, your job, Justice, is to be mindful of the court record and the testimony. Look for inconsistencies in the testimony of what the court record tells you. When you found an inconsistency, that's when you present the conflicting evidence from the court record with R1. But I didn't hear anything strange at all in the testimony just now. Good sign that you need to press the witness with L1 for more information. Press him. Don't let the fact that he's a remarkable man hold you back. Get more information. But isn't Mr. Wright my client? Well, think you can do it. Yes. Thank you, sir. I think I can do it. I think you'd better, or we're going to have a problem. Just remember, find any inconsistencies, any lies in the testimony, and reveal them to the court. That is cross-examination. Learn it, know it, do it. Inconsistencies, lies, Phoenix Wright. As if Phoenix Wright would never lie, and it's up to me to prove it. The defense may begin the cross-examination. I'm a pianist by trade, yet I can hardly play at all. Let's press. You can hardly play? Oh, I play sometimes, when customers demand it. So I play them one song. That's usually all they want. Was that supposed to be a boast just now? The title of pianist is a mask, a respectable face I wear for the world at large. And why are you really at the Bourse Bowl Club? Bowl Club. My real job is to take on interested customers over at the poker table. Hold it. Then you just to play poker? They pay you to just play poker? That would seem to be the case. I'm a professional, after all. No, I think I'm the professional here. Ah, do I detect pride in that statement? It's just hard for an honest, hard-working member of society like me to imagine. Yes. Your imagination was always a bit limited, Winston. But what? I played poker for 7 years in that little room. And I've never lost. Once. What? You see, why the customers come now? Defeat the undefeated poker champion. It's quite a draw. That is, I'm quite a draw. Wait, you've never lost once. Not even one time. As I said, I'm a professional. No, I'm the professional here. He's played poker for 7 years and not lost once. Kinda strange. Even the best players lose eventually. Is that even possible? The room where we play in the competition in there are the club's main attractions. The room in the crime scene photo is an attraction? It looks run down. It has quite a history, actually. The Bourse Bowl Club used to be a gathering of sort for black market types back in the day. But, black market? That's where they sell illegal things. All in the past, things like the black market are only on the silver screen nowadays. Suffice to say that there were a lot of deals being made under the table. Right there in that room. Smoky room, gambling hoods, you know. Just looking at this picture makes me feel bad. The bosses gather around the table, cutting deals safe from the eyes of the law. Meanwhile, a goon keeps watch through the small window. I can practically picture it now. That window. Does it look like it would be good for keeping a lookout, but little else? The room had a few other tricks to it, though was common knowledge to our regulars. At any rate, they'd come to play poker in a room steeped in history. Despite the dark past, it was all just good, clean fun. The rules are simple. We play a game of poker using 2 decks of cards. 2 decks of cards. Simple measure to prevent cheating. If you alternate 2 decks of cards, no one can slip in cards. There's something else I noticed. In addition to the cards on the table, there are some lying scattering on the floor. Precisely. Cards on the table, cards upon the floor. Each one forming a complete deck. Crime scene painted blue by a sad sweep of cards. It's poetic, really. Incidentally, we use 2 types of cards at the club. 1 deck of cards is red, the other blue. As I recall, in poker, you make 5-card hands. I can see how it would be easy to cheat. Yes, a game of hands. This competition you're talking about, I believe the court understands the nature of the game sufficiently. That's right. It was a simple game after all. Are you sure? Huh? People are not murdered over simple games, Mr. Justice. Defendant, you were in the room the very moment the crime occurred. Yet you claim no connection to the crime. Now that's strange. What's strange? I was testifying about the competition that night. Asking me about the crime at this point is against the rules, Your Honor. Of course, I expected to hear a cry of objection from the defense. I completely let that one slip by. Don't despair yet, Justice. Sir? Right, there's something I'd like made clear. Namely, your connection to the case at hand, and I'd like to hear it from you. Sure, why not? Very well. The defendant will amend his testimony. Just one little press. And I've got myself a whole new testimony. I plead silence regarding the murder, but I will say I never touched the murder weapon. Silence? The defendant has the right to refuse to testify. That's pleading the fifth. I haven't forgotten everything about the law. But why? That clearly puts you at a disadvantage. And it's your job to turn that around in our favor, yes? Great. Like I didn't have enough to do already. Justice, didn't you detect anything odd about that testimony? Yes, his fingerprints are on the murder weapon. Huh. Wait, something he said did ring a little strangely. Just one thing. Now what was it? When you figure it out, I suggest presenting evidence. Evidence that contradicts the testimony. Contradiction in Mr. Wright's testimony, so we're contradicting our own client. I'd better check the court record. I can't imagine Mr. Wright lying in the testimony. Isn't it a little early to be jumping to conclusions? This is your first cross-examination. Take it slow. If you need more information, don't forget the press. Right. I got it. I'm fine. Time to listen to that testimony again. So the contradiction is going to be... I plead silence regarding the murder, but I will say I never touched the murder weapon. That's the contradiction right there. We're gonna present this. Green, grape juice bottle used as a murder weapon. Bears the defendant Mr. Wright's prints. Present. Oh, we got a trophy. So you say you didn't touch the murder weapon. This grape juice bottle. Right. So I said. Something the matter, Mr. Justice? Too bad our new defense attorney never learned how to play dumb. What's this, Mr. Payne? I examined the bottle in question, you see. And it was covered with the defendant's fingerprints. Objection! No need to shout, Mr. Justice. I can hear you just fine. Excess, yelling can damage the judge's ears in our case. But, what about my cords of steel? Anyway, anyway, what's so strange about fingerprints on a bottle in a restaurant? Well, that's true. The prints alone don't prove he did it. Oh, they wouldn't prove a thing. if they were normal fingerprints. Huh? The fingerprints on the murder weapon were upside down. What? Upside down? What does that mean? Yeah, I'm curious what that means too. It means he was holding the bottle inverted. And there can be only one reason for that. He was hitting him? Yes. To brain someone with the bottle. Ah. But Mr. Gavin, I think things just a turn for the worst. Oh, I see no problem, Justice. Huh? The only thing that matters is the truth. There's a good reason for everything, you'll see. Defendant, can you explain your fingerprints on this bottle to the court? I stand by my plea of silence regarding the murder. For now. Not very cooperative, are you? And, let me, turn off my capture card and turn it on again, because I see a little bit of flickering on the screen, guys. I do apologize for that. I'm gonna fix that right now. Okay, we're back with the capture card. Sorry about that, guys. I'm sorry about the flickering. I hope it wasn't too annoying. Not very cooperative, are you? This could hurt your case. I'm sure he's uncooperative because he's hiding something. There must be some reason. Now, the thing about that is, this already is a massive violation at this point. This is a massive violation. If somebody pleads silence, you cannot, the prosecution cannot attack them over it. If they say, I plead silence, I refuse to testify, the prosecution cannot attack them for that. They cannot say that this is, according to American law, the prosecution cannot go after them and say, oh, he's refusing to testify. He's being silent on this matter. That proves he's guilty at this point. No, you can't do that. It's a massive violation of Phoenix's rights. I'm sure he's uncooperative because he's hiding somewhere. So that's why I say sometimes a lot of the things are unrealistic. There must be some reason. Objection! Your Honor, you seem to have forgotten something. And what might that be, Mr. Gavin? On the night of the crime, who was it who reported the murder to the police? That is a good question. Who did it? Reported. Well, that was the defendant, Mr. Wright. But still, that... Really? Yes, well, according to the case file, murder was reported from near the scene by a call from the defendant's cell phone. Near the scene? Let's take a look at a diagram of the murder scene, shall we? The victim was murdered in a small room in a basement 2 floors down from the ground level. Of course, cell phones can't get reception so far down. The defendant used the stairs in this hallway to go above ground. The call came from the first floor of the restaurant. I see, and this is the phone that made the call. Wright's cell phone added to the court record, used by the defendant to notify the police from the restaurant's first floor. The defendant could have just fled the scene of the crime if he so chose. That is a good point. Yet, he fulfilled his duty as a citizen and reported it to the authorities. That is a good point. And you claim he is being uncooperative? Ugh. Nice save, Mr. Gavin. I'd better not waste this. I think the prosecution has toyed with our client enough for the time being. Toyed? I assure you, no one is more serious about... What was it you said? The defendant was in the room the very moment the crime occurred. How can you possibly know this? That's a good question. How indeed? The answer is simple, Your Honor. The prosecution has a decisive witness. Yeah, how would they know that he was in the room? I didn't think about that. Who is this witness? And I bet you the witness is the real killer. Heh. You're as good as they say you are. So someone else was in the room the night of the crime. That must mean they witnessed the crime. They're the killer. Everything up until now has been a warm-up. There can be no other person who's the killer. If that witness was in the room, and there was no one in that room besides Phoenix, the victim and the witness is the killer. But who is this witness? Everything up until now has been a warm-up, Justice. Are you ready? So Kristoff knows who the killer is. He knows. He's confident. I think he's just trying to test Apollo to see if he can figure it out. Very well. The prosecution may call its first witness to the stand. The witness will state her name and profession. This is the witness? Hold on just a moment. Where's the witness? I surmise that she has been frightened by the defense's demonic-looking horns. What? So I used a little hair gel. Relax, people. Have no fear. If any horns point to your direction, this court will cut them off. You are sure? I swear it on my gavel. Please come out. So here's the thing. This is a rolling theme with the judge in the Ace Attorney games. This judge has been in multiple Ace Attorney games. And he has been manipulated several times. He's very easily manipulated by witnesses. So here's a lesson about the Ace Attorney games. No matter how innocent a witness looks, they can be the killer. They can be a cold-blooded killer, no matter how innocent somebody looks. So in a lot of games, there have been people who have looked, you know, like they could have absolutely nothing to do with it, but they're actually a cold-blooded, stone-cold killer. I swear to my gavel, please come out. Isn't violence against hair a crime, Your Honor? Well, if you're sure it is, okay. Now, the prosecution. What? Wait a minute. Will the prosecution care to explain the witness's, paraphernalia? Yes. He's a professional, Your Honor. Those are merely the tools of our trade. No, I am a professional. And that would be? My name is Olga Orly. I am employed as a waitress in Borscht Bowl Club restaurant. Then, why the camera? Of course, it is my pride to serve borscht, that is, naming restaurant. But I also perform how it is said, other service. I take it one of those other services is taking the customer's pictures? Da-da. Like, for example, this one. Da means yes in Russian, by the way. So she took a picture of Phoenix and the murder victim. But this looks like it's on the ground floor of the club. That's the defendant. Indeed. On the night of the murder, man in white hat is one who has gone kaput. Kaput is in German, finished. Indeed. That is the victim. Order, order. This is quite a piece of evidence to casually drop into our laps. It is same way as I drop cold bowls of borscht on laps of customers, casually. Then the court will casually accept this new evidence. Olga's photo added to the court record. The defendant and Mr. Smith at the Borscht Bowl Club. Now, witness, where were you at the time of the murder? I was in room, the hideout we call it. Excuse me, the hideout? It is a room where famous gangster bad guy was arrested. Bad guy? Is room where murder took place. Well, what? Your look of utter surprise, it is lovely. I will post by courtroom door later for you. Da-da, photos will be numbered, and you will write which ones you want copy of. So there were 3 people in the room at the time of the crime. The victim, Shady Smith, Mr. Wright, and Olga Orly, our witness. And if Mr. Wright isn't the killer, that means... Yup, Olga's the killer. But why would she want him dead? Very well, witness. You will testify to the court about the night's events. Okay, let's see if we can figure out something's not right here, something's off. Let's see what's wrong. That fateful night. That night, customer asked me to deal cards for game. It was cold. Both players played with hats on da. The victim, he plays whole time with his hands on locket at his neck. Then, last hand is done, but something terrible has happened da. That man flew at victim, and is strangling him to death. Oh, he was trying to kill Phoenix? Incidentally, who won the game? Isn't it obvious the winner was the victim, Mr. Smith? Objection! But Phoenix said he never lost the game. That's ridiculous, because Mr. Wright can't lose. Justice? Maybe you can come up with a more legitimate objection. But he hadn't lost in 7 years. Take it from me, kid. It happens. I didn't lose a case on my first 7 years as a prosecutor either. I don't know about that. Incidentally, I have some evidence here. What is this? New piece of evidence. These are the poker chips as they lay the very moment of the crime. The hand and chips on this side belong to the defendant, Mr. Wright. Those on the far side belong to the victim, Mr. Smith. Let's take a look at these cards. I'm gonna move my camera here. Let's see. Chips, you say? I mean, yes. Imagine that a poker is war. Your hand is your army, and the chips are the spoils. I know that. After all, my youth, I was known as the poker head of courtroom number 3. I think he means the poker face. Looking at this picture, it does seem that most of the chips are on the victim's side of the table. Chips photo added to the court record. Very well. The defense may cross-examine the witness. Let's take a look at some of this stuff here. So let's take a look at the phone first here. No clues here. What is this? Wow, the battery is being held with a piece of tape. He should just buy a new one. Maybe he can't afford it, or he doesn't care. It looks like the grape juices are on the floor there. Let's look at the hands. He's got 3 kings. Three kings and 2 aces. And what does Phoenix have? Phoenix has 3 sevens and 2 aces. Think for a moment here. He's got 2 aces, yeah. They both have really good cards. But looks like the defendant's cards are better. The victim's cards are better. Because he has 3 kings and 2 aces. That's, you know, is having a pair and then having a triple. That's really good in poker. Okay, move our camera back. So this is just the first case, but trust me, this game the later cases get really hard trying to figure this out. Okay. Okay, let's cross-examine. Because Olga has to be the killer. You know, don't let... Just because she looks fragile and innocent doesn't mean that she is. That night, customer asked me to deal cards for game. Let's press. You were dealing cards. Do you do this often? I am doing this. If customer wishes it, I serve anything. Borscht, cards, more borscht. If she's dealing the cards, she could have helped the guy cheat. It is my work. It's good to hear of a place that hasn't forgotten the meaning of service. Welcome, you to Borscht Bowl Club, where Borscht is as warm as the waitresses. Thank you for not handing out flyers during the cross-examination. It was cold. Both players played with hands on Da. It's already April. How could it be cold? At Borscht Bowl Club, we have pride on authentic rustic Russian restaurant theme. Outside is city in spring, but inside is always as cold as Mother Russia. No way I'm going there. When it comes to hot borscht, cold is best seasoning, da? The victim, he plays whole time with his hand on locket at his neck. His locket? Where's the locket? I believe it was good luck charm, da? He gripped it many times he played that night. Yes, he must have felt as thought it might carry him to the moon and the stars. Though, if it were small enough to fit around his neck, it wouldn't have much lift. The defense would like a clarification. This is a locket we're talking about. I mean, a pendant with a picture in it, right? Not a rocket? Of course, I knew that. It was probably a pendant, shaped like a rocket, that's why she's calling it that. No, a locket's a locket, it doesn't matter what. It's considered bad form to poke fun at the heart of hearing in our society. Hard of hearing or hard of understanding. So what happened next? Where is this locket right now? That last hand is done, but something terrible has happened, Hold it! Something terrible? Eek, the defense will refrain from needless shouting. Sorry. I need to seriously reconsider his vocal training thing. Now, Miss Orley, can you tell us what happened? Oh, I was so frightened. I trembled with fear. That man flew at victim and is strangling him to death, so then it's self-defense. Hold it! But the defendant would never do such a thing. Wait a second, hang on a second. That man flew at victim and is strangling him to death. So she's claiming that Phoenix was attacking him? Eek. Well now, I can't say I've ever heard a defense try this tactic. If possible, please, refrain from embarrassing me. Still, why would anyone do something like this over a game of poker? Perhaps it's because the defendant has lost game. Yes, a crushing defeat for a man undefeated. So it is always with men like him, winners make losers, oh how the mighty fall. Go ahead, I believe you know what it is you need to do. Right, sir. Leave it to me. There was only 3 people in that room at the time of the murder. The victim, Shady Smith, Mr. Wright, and if Mr. Wright isn't the killer, I've got you now, Orly. I was looking to see if there's anything different about the photos. Both players had hats on, there's nothing wrong there. What is the contradiction? Something terrible has happened. That's both of them there, but... Is the locket gone? Yeah, I messed up already here. Okay, I got, 4 more chances. I think it might be the autopsy. Because it's blunt force trauma, but she's claiming that he's being strangled. Objection! Yeah, it is. When the music stops means you got the right answer. Oh, really? Strangled, you say? That's odd. God, normal customers only choke on borscht. Well, people shouldn't be choking on anything at your restaurant. No, I mean the report shows that the victim died of a blow to the head. Ah. Miss Orley, really now? Did you witness the crime? Looking at the picture, it doesn't seem like he was hit. He's still wearing his hat and everything. Yes, it is a fact that he was hit, Your Honor. Here's a photo we took of the victim with his hat off during our investigation. But how does the hat back on the head? Somebody put the hat back on. Well, that's quite shocking, isn't it? This head certainly was hit. That makes... something's off, but I have seen it happen. The defendant, he lunged at victim, his neck. Oh really, Miss Orley? I think I've caught you in your own lie this time. Justice. I admire your enthusiasm, but perhaps you should think this through once more. What do you mean? I found a contradiction. There's one thing in her testimony that troubles me. Very well. It seems we should continue the cross-examination. Such a thing as thinking too much. This horse is dead. Let's stop beating it. There's such a thing as thinking aloud too much, too. The hat's back on! The locket's gone. It's not there. It's like I thought. So I was right. I was right that the locket was gone. Because I didn't see it. I didn't see it there either. It turns out I was right. I got the right answer early on. Objection! You know, there was one curious part in her testimony, just like Mr. Gavin said. But what does it mean? Mr. Justice, would you care to explain what it is you're thinking so intensely about? Recall the testimony, Your Honor. The victim played with his hand on his locket at his neck, I believe she said. I hope you aren't about to raise an objection to the witness's grammar. No, but look at this photograph. Do you see a locket on the victim's neck? Well done, Justice. I got it. I'm impressed. So it turns out the first mistake that I made, I actually was right. That the locket was missing. I knew you'd be able to handle this. But what does it mean? Yeah, that is a good point. What happened to the locket? If he was holding on to the locket the whole time like this, it could have had something valuable, or it might have been some kind of listening device. Maybe he was cheating. Maybe she was in on it. Maybe that's what happened. If we are to believe this witness testimony as is, then the locket disappeared following the victim's death. Lockets don't just disappear, Your Honor. It's quite simple when you think about it. If the locket is gone, someone must have taken it off, no? Taken it off? Wait, you don't mean the defendant wasn't strangling the victim at all? He was taking off his locket. Wouldn't that explain it? But why would he want to take off his locket? Ah. Herc? That makes it even more strange now. The defendant, what do you have to say to this? Say? Yes. I just noticed this, but... You have something hanging around your neck, don't you? It's the locket, right? Oh, you mean this? Yes, it's a locket with a photograph inside. A photo of my daughter. What? Come again? Mr. Wright, you have a daughter? It's the first time I'm hearing about this. We confirmed it at the time of the arrest. The picture in the locket is indeed Mr. Wright's daughter. What? So Mr. Wright has a locket too? Why don't I buy, that this is just a coincidence? What's going on here? Well now, if the result of this poker game led to the murder, perhaps we should hear a bit more about the outcome of the game. Further testimony won't really be necessary. It's clear the defendant lost badly. Miss Orley, you will testify to the court about the game played between the victim and defendant. Da. She's in on it. She knows something. The game began with 3,500 point-in chips for each man. House chips come in two sizes, small and large. The one who was winning, it was victim. For last hand, defendant played with all chips on table and loose. The moment loss was decided, defendant grabs bottle from table and... Indeed, looking at this picture, it does seem to be a one-sided game. As the court knows, poker was the defendant's life. Failure must have been a bitter pill to swallow. Ah. How many times have I heard those words? I've done it in a fit of anger, Your Honor, and now I regret what I done. A common tale, but true. That is actually true, is a lot of crimes do actually happen in a spun of anger moment. So somebody gets really angry, doesn't realize what they're doing, and commits a crime, hurts somebody, or even worse. Me thinks the judge watches too many old court movies. Mr. Wright said he hasn't lost in 7 years, so this testimony must be wrong. The game began with 3,500 points in chip for each man. Hold it! Are those the usual starting points? Were any special rules used? No, not special. Usual game. Usual rules. If each man began with 3,500 points, then the total would be 7,000. Exactly 7,000 points. Please, this isn't a calculus. It's not even long division. House chips come in two sizes, small and large. Hold it! Are the chips in this photo all the chips that were used? Da. Of course. Something's fishy with these chips. Did I press harder? Press harder. Maybe you could explain a bit about these chips. Explain? What is there to be explained? Poker chips are poker chips. They're not fish and chips. Not a chip at the old block. Not a motorcycle cop. Not a... Thanks. Now that I've pressed her, I'd better ask something. What are these chips worth? Are they in dollars or rubles, even? Niet. That means no in Russian. As I have been saying before, it was game, not gambling. Hard perhaps for capitalists to understand. Two types of chip, 100 points a chip and 1,000 point chip. It is not money, da. Justice. Sir. Don't you find her comment interesting? In more ways than one, sir. I have it added to her testimony myself. Well, does the defense want the witness to add to her testimony? Add to testimony, yes. Yes, I do think this deserves further scrutiny. Add it to her testimony. I wish I knew where I was going with this. Very well, witness. If you will be so kind. Your Honor. What did she add on? One kind of chip is worth 100 points. Other kind is worth 1,000. 2 kinds in all. Mr. Gavin said the testimony is important. To be honest, I have no idea why. Mr. Justice, do the court a favor and think of what you want to say before raising your hand. Well, you're not in kindergarten. Yeah, sorry, I'm fine. Better think of something to ask. Quick. 2 types of chips. The small ones are 100 and the big ones 1,000, right? Horse? Ha! Don't waste our time. Is that all? Yeah. Ugh. Great. Mr. Gavin made me stop her, and now I'm the one who looks dumb. Oh, Justice. Please try not to embarrass me like that. Huh? Who? Me? There's a clear contradiction in the information you have in your hands. What? It's a simple matter of calculation. Go on, try it. We're not in kindergarten, after all. Yeah, it's the chips don't add up. That's what I think is the answer. Let me press the other statements also. You're telling me that Mr. Wright, undefeated for 7 whole years, was losing? It must have been the most unlucky day for him. I'm glad I did not take other picture of him. It would break camera, certainly. The chips, they went always to victim's side of table. So, you're telling us it was a one-sided game. One-sided, and... For last hand, defendant play with all chips on table and lose. Last hand. It was largest points of any hand. The defendant's hand, it was excellent. He tried to use it to take victory from behind. It appears that both the defendant and the victim's hands are in this picture. That is truly an excellent hand, however, so is the victim's. One with the highest number wins, the defendant loses. The victim, Mr. Smith, had a stronger hand than the defendant and crushed him. I believe that explains what occurred next. Once cards laid down on the table, it happened. The moment loss was decided, the defendant grabs bottle from table and... And what happened next? Even to think of it now, I shake and tremble. I did not believe such thing would happen. What such thing? Please, you must believe. I had no idea. How could such thing occur? What such thing? Niet. The defendant had been hitting victim. I saw it all happen right before me. I saw bottle coming down on victim's head. Decisive, isn't it, Your Honor? My witness saw the very moment of the crime. Remember, your first goal is to gather information. Yes, sir. Look out, contradiction. Here comes justice. Tips. If these are supposed to total up to 7,000, 3,500 each, so these are supposed to be 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, 6,100, 6,200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, 7,000. The reds represent 1,000. The blacks represent 100. But what's the contradiction here? In front of my eyes and I'm not seeing it. Wait a second. Wait. If this is Phoenix's hand on the left. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. 4,100 is how many chips he has. The victim has 1,000, 2,000, 2,100, 2,200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900. 2,900. 2,900 versus Phoenix, who has 4,100. So just because he had more chips here, Phoenix was winning because the chips were worth more. The one who was winning, it was the victim. No, 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 no. Objection! No, Phoenix had more chips. He had more in total. He was winning. You're sure it was the victim who won? Absolutely sure. So for people that don't know what I'm talking about here, I'm just gonna explain it really quickly. Is the red chips are 1,000 each. The black chips are 100 each. The game is played with 3,000. Each player gets 3,500 chips. It's played with 7,000 chips in total. So it looks like the victim is winning because he has more chips here, but in reality, Phoenix is winning because these chips are higher value chips. The red chips are the 1,000. The black chips are the 100. So 1,000 for those four reds. That's 4,000. The black 4,100. And with this here, this guy here, he has 2 reds. That's 2,000. And then these 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 blacks. That's 900. 2,900 versus 4,100. So even though this guy has more chips, Phoenix has the higher valued one, so he's winning. She's lying. It seems our new attorney is a bit confused. A glance at the picture is enough to tell you who won. You're not in kindergarten. No, you're in kindergarten, Mr. Payne. Just for safety's sake, could you explain the problem to the court? Of course, Your Honor. In this photo, I see small chips and I see large chips. Tell me, which were worth 1,000 points? Why, the big ones, of course. Duh. That doesn't make sense. No, it's the red ones. Oh, I thought so too. But then the totals don't add up. Yep. The totals? Let's review what the witness told us. Each man started with 3,000... It was simple mathematics. Each man started with 3,500 points in chips. And the combined total value of the chips was 7,000 points. Yes. If my calculations are correct, let's see. 3 plus 1 carry the 5. They are, Your Honor. Now, look at this photo that allegedly shows all the chips. If the big chips are worth 1,000 points, and the small chips are worth 100, and you add them up, how much is it? Do it yourself, you aren't in kindergarten, are you? 10,600 points. The chips don't add up. This clearly contradicts the witness's testimony. We got her. But why? How could this be? Exactly, Justice. Now that you know the what, you must determine the why. Right. There's only one possible way to explain this contradiction. Starting points were wrong. No. Starting points, we gotta choose the right answer. Starting points were wrong. Let's look at it one more time here. The reds, let's count them. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, 6,100, 6,200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, 7,000. The amount is correct. The chip count was wrong. Both were right. Each man began the game with 3,500 points. If all the chips are indeed shown in this photograph, then there can be only one answer. Well, what is it? The value of the chips was the other way around. What? Want to know what I think? The small chips were worth 1,000 points, not the big ones. Madness. Utter madness. Show me the photograph of the chips again. There are 6 small chips and 10 large chips. Yup, exactly. Why? That does make 7,000 points when you add them up. Excellent work, Justice. It's almost as though you figured it out by yourself. Well, I'm just glad I was the one who said it. But wait! The value of the chips may be different, but that changes nothing. No, it does. It does change a lot because she's lying. She claimed that Phoenix was losing and got pissed and lunged at the guy and tried to strangle him. But that contradicts his statement that Phoenix was losing. Indeed, the victim did have the larger number of chips still. Ah. Exactly. If the small chips are 1,000 points and the large chips are 100, let's do a little math. Add up to the points for each side of the table. The victim, Mr. Smith, had 2,900 points and the defendant 4,100 points. Yup, like I said. Well now, it seems that Mr. Wright was winning that night after all. That's impossible! My client had even less reason to kill the victim. After all, he was winning. We got him. Now, Miss Orley, you must have known the true value of the chips, since you were there at the scene of the crime. Weren't you? Ah, eek. Order, order. It appears the defendant has lost his motive, and Mr. Wright's supposed defeat never happened. We must now ask ourselves whether we can trust the witness's testimony at... Hold. Excuse me, what is it, Miss Orley? I did not want to be saying this, but... Actually, you see, See what, Miss Orley? What do we see? In the last hand, there was cheat. What? And now she's telling us you didn't think this was important to tell us earlier? Cheat? Who is cheating? A cheat? You don't mean a trick? Wait, or do you mean the locket could have been the cheat? A scam? Yeah. They're all the same thing. Yes, there was cheat in the last hand. Whose hand? That is why game ends with chips as they are. Great. Just great. First we have lying, now cheating. Well, this case certainly has taken a turn. For the interesting. Witness, you will please testify to the court. Tell us about this cheating. In the final hand. I want to know this too. Let's hear it. Let's hear what she has to say. Final hand. The last hand, both men had full house. There is 4 of each card in deck, from ace to king. If you look at both men's hands, cheat is more obvious. The next moment, game becomes argument. The defendant's trick was exposed. He took bottle in his hand for Mr. Smith. I think Shady Smith was the one who was cheating. Miss Orley, why did you not tell the court about this from the very beginning exactly? I thought I smelled the cover up here. Well, folks, it's time to throw back the covers. A full house is a very high-scoring hand. Not easy to make in my experience. That alone is enough to surprise less than scrupulous tactics. Mr. Gavin, what's a full house? Lawyers these days, you don't know your poker. I can't say this bodes well for your case or career. Well, it's not his job to know poker. Well, I mean, I guess he should have known the game because it's his client. But, what is this, some kind of secret court poker ring? Justice. You know the terms 1 pair, 2 pair, and 3 of a kind, yes? Yeah. Yeah, no problem. 2 cards with the same number make a pair, and 3 makes 3 of a kind. Good. Now picture a hand with 1 pair and 3 of a kind. That's a full house. That doesn't sound very easy to make, does it? It's extremely rare. Getting a pair is rare. And getting a lot of poker hands actually win in pairs. That's what most poker players, they win with pairs. 3 of a kind is even rarer. Getting 3 of the same exact cards. But getting a full house where you get a 3 of a kind and a pair, that's very, very rare. And, you can see each player's hand in the photo. So, there is a very strong possibility that she is telling half the truth. Somebody is cheating, but it's not Phoenix. It's probably Shady Smith, because getting a full house, the chances of that are so slim. But getting 2 players with full houses at the exact same time, that's even rarer. The chances of that are so low. Like, you have a better chance of winning the lottery than have 2 players that are gonna have 2 full houses at the same time. Something's off. One person here is cheating. I don't think it's Phoenix. They both have full houses. We forget, there's an easy way to make a full house, and go undefeated for 7 years. You cheat. The defense may cross-examine the witness. If he did cheat in the last hand, that still leaves one important question. Mr. Wright lost that hand. Who's ever heard of a professional con man losing when they cheat? The final hand. The last hand, both men had full house. Just how hard is it to make a full house anyway? It is quite hard, da. It is making a pair and a 3 of a kind at the same time. I guess that's right. Very difficult, to be sure. You can take my word as the poker head of courtroom number 3. Very difficult, da. But it is not impossible. It's not impossible, but it's really rare. Okay, full house hard. This line of questioning, a waste of time. There is 4 of each card in deck, from ace to king. 4 of each card, you say? Da. There is 1 spade, 1 diamond, 1 heart, and 1 club for each card. Wait a second. I got them here. Is interesting fact that this number 4 comes from the number of seasons. Huh, you don't say. And did you know that the cards are numbered 1 to 13? Add all the cards in the deck and you get 364 a year. You don't say. Isn't that 1 day short? That's why each deck has 2 jokers. They say the second joker stands for the leap year. Thus you have a perfect representation of the year. All in a deck of cards. You don't say. We're going to be in this courtroom for a year if it keeps going like this. If you look at both men's hands, a cheat is more obvious. How? How was it clear? Well, the defendant, he played a 5th ace. A 5th ace. I still remember both hands very well. Oh, right. There's 5 aces, right, that's true. Wait a second, hang on. There is 5 aces, yes, that's true. There's only supposed to be 4. But what's the extra here? Move my camera over. I see. Wait a second. I see 4 aces, not 5. Wait a second. Hang on a second. Something's not right here. No, he has 3 kings. That's what he has. Obviously, cheating was afoot, or perhaps I should say a hand. Your Honor, perhaps this can be added to the testimony, without Mr. Payne's joke. Very well. The witness will add this detail to her testimony. Please. Mr. Smith's hand has 3 aces, and Mr. Wright's 2. A 5th ace. It should not exist, no? I still remember both hands very well. Mr. Smith's hand has 3 aces. No, it has 3 kings. And Mr. Wright's 2. Well, where did this card come from then? Perhaps we should ask the defendant that very question. Adding cards to a deck is no less a serious taboo then. Now, perhaps it's time for you to say something, Justice. You bet. No intention of staying quiet. Not me, no sir. I better find some contradiction evidence fast. I can't see the cards from here, but... No, this is it. She's lying.
Objection!
It appears the witness is mistaken. Mistaken? But my name? Look, this piece of evidence clearly contradicts what you said in your testimony. That's the photo of the chips, is it not? Justice. Perhaps you ought to explain your point in a way the judge can comprehend. He's calling the judge an idiot in a nice way. In other words, use your finger to point out, your point. Yes, please point out the contradiction in this photo. What particular point contradicts the witness's testimony? The 3 kings. She's saying he had 3 aces. Because both these hands are... The thing about this in poker... These hands are both really rare, but there's nothing cheating about them. If there was a 5th card, the same card, then yes, it would be cheating, because there'd be 4 cards of each. But there's 3 kings. That's rare, but it is possible. That. Why, it's here, of course. It's where? Where is that you're pointing? Where, good question. We've already heard today on the dangers of bluffing. But I pointed to the right thing. It's the 3 kings. I think I gotta point to the aces then, if it's not the kings. Miss Orley, in your testimony, you made the following claim. Mr. Smith's hand has 3 aces. But as you can clearly see, the victim's hand only held 2 aces. Well, maybe the witness was simply confused. No, she made this... No, she was not confused. She made this entire statement, this entire conspiracy that there was cheating involved, and she had nothing to back it up with. Perhaps it was the defendant's hand that held the 3rd ace in question.
Objection!
Take another look at the evidence. As you can see, the defendant also had 2 aces in his hand. Where's this 5th ace? I see cheating alright. It's going on right here in this courtroom. 2 aces in each player's hand does make 4 aces total. Hardly proof of cheating. Wait, please. It is true. I have seen it. The 5th ace. There was cheating, I swear to you. That's odd. You must be lying. Yet she's the most sincere I've seen, her all day. The right to trust your instincts. Mr. Gavin, who knows what lies in store for us in the trial ahead? Your Honor, if I may, I have a suggestion. What might that be, Mr. Gavin? If you don't mind, perhaps we might examine the actual cards. The cards, that is a good point. Mr. Payne? Yes? The players' hands that night were set aside as evidence, were they not? The defense would like to request that the cards be shown to the court. Very well, the prosecution will submit this evidence. Which will you examine? The victim's cards or the defendant's cards? These cards don't prove cheating was going on, nothing will. Now, which of these is more suspicious? Victim's hand or defendant's hand? The victim was winning. Let's look at the victim's hand. It was the victim's hand that changed over the course of the witness's testimony. The defense requests time to examine Mr. Smith's cards. Very well. Mr. Payne, if you would. Very well. Victim's Smith's hand was left at the scene, a full house. Well, time's a wasting. Get to it, Justice. Yes, sir. When examining evidence, be sure to view it from all sides and angles. Try using R to look around every way and triangle to zoom in and out. That should give you a better perspective on the case. Okay, let's do this. So, remember what I said about the Ace Attorney games? Is that it's very different than any other kind of game because you gotta figure everything out. And, she's lying. She's in on it. There's something bad going on here. The back of the cards. This! Look! He's cheating. Phoenix's cards should be blue. But he has one blue card. One player has a red deck. The other player's a blue deck. This. What? He's cheating. Your Honor, look at this. One of the victim's cards. The back is a different color. I knew it. That's impossible. But I put that card in Wright's hand. Ugh. What was that, Miss Orley? No, I mean said, I have eek. Your Honor. Mr. Gavin, yes. Tell me, what is the easiest way to cheat at poker? To cheat? To know your opponent's cards or have an extra card? I'll tell you. One merely needs a friend, a comrade, shall we say. The dealer. Wait, so you mean... This witness, Miss Orley, she's the cheater. A professional, I'd wager. Order. Focus, Justice. Time to take advantage of her. I mean of her mistake. Oh, that was weird how he said it. Your Honor. Please recall the testimony we just heard. That's impossible. But I put that card in Wright's hand. Ergo, Miss Olga Orley conspired to cheat. Not with my client, but with the victim, Mr. Shady Smith. Not only did she cheat, she cheated poorly. Therefore, it's not hard to imagine an altercation between her and the victim. What? Wait, you don't mean... The defense isn't accusing the witness, Miss Olga Orley, are you? Time for justice. There were 3 people in the room at the time of the incident. And if Mr. Wright isn't guilty, that means... I am... The defense accuses the witness, Miss Olga Orley, of murder. Mr. Payne, where is your witness, Miss Olga Orley? It appears she has lost her consciousness, Your Honor. Mr. Justice. Your Honor, it seems you've presented a new possibility to the court. One suggesting a connection between the witness and the victim, Mr. Smith. And that means the court cannot pronounce a verdict for the defendant at this time. What? I did it. I held out. I see no point in prolonging the trial to this day. The prosecution will need to make further inquiries.
Objection!
Mr. Wright, you can't end the trial here, Your Honor. Not yet. What nonsense is the defendant spewing now? Think, one of the cards had a different colored back. Don't you wonder what it means? What are you doing, Mr. Wright? Raising objections right when you're about to get off the hook? Ridiculous. Mr. Payne, you of all people should know. Mr. Wright has a talent for the ridiculous. Perhaps we should get to the bottom of things. Let's clear up the facts about the game that fateful night. Okay, let's find out what happened exactly. As was said before, we alternated between 2 decks of cards that night. That was said before. The 2 decks at the club have different colored backs, blue and red. 1 color per deck. Why use different colored backs? If we use the same color, the 2 decks might get mixed. Use different colors and they still got mixed up. We used the red deck for the last game. I see. That's odd. For some reason, I have this impression that you were using the blue cards. Yeah, me too. I'm sure someone said something about blue cards. Whatever. In the end, 1 card of the wrong color got into the mix. Which means there was cheating. Yes, a card slipped into the deck, would seem to indicate cheating. Yet, this card raises 2 serious questions. Apollo? Yes. Let's consider the first question, shall we? Think. In the last game, when was the card swapped? When? There are 3 broad possibilities here. It could have been swapped before the murder, during the murder, or after the murder. Well, yeah. Thanks for the news bulletin, Mr. Wright. Of course, it was swapped. Oh? It might be as simple as you think, Mr. Payne. Or it might not be. I'd like to hear what Apollo thinks first. When do you think the cards were swapped? When was the card swapped into the deck? Before or during the... or after the murder? Hmm. Hmm. There's gotta be an answer here. When was the card swapped into the deck? Give me a moment here, guys. I gotta think carefully about this one. Or the murder, during the murder, or after the murder. They alternated between two decks of cards that night. This is the hardest part of the case. This is the hardest part. The answer is probably right in front of me, and I'm probably not seeing it. What could it be here? The thing about this is Olga knew something. Olga said, "Well, that's not the card that, you know, that I swiped for Phoenix." This is the part that's getting me. When was the card swapped into the deck? She probably gave him an ace. That's probably what it was. I'm gonna go with during the murder. Yeah, I feel kind of stupid. It has to have been before. When you're playing poker, which side of the cards face your opponent? The back, right. I feel dumb here. So, it's like if you're holding up your cards, he's gonna see that he has one colored card that's wrong. There. Sorry, let me think about this some more. It had to have been, yes. Okay, so I get it now. So I was a bit confused. So, it was after the murder, when it was swapped. That's when it was swapped, because the thing is, though, if you're holding up, like, your hands of cards, that's the answer. That's what it was. It was the fact that, I guess I just feel kind of dumb for not seeing it, but the answer is that if you're holding up your cards towards your opponent, he's gonna see that one of the colored cards, that's another color on there. So he's gonna know that you're cheating. So it's after the murder. But why would somebody change the cards after the murder? Perhaps it happened after the murder. What's that ridiculous? What's the point of cheating after the hands have been shown? That's silly. Objection! Yes. But tell me, how do you swap cards during the game? I'll take silly over impossible. Take it from me, son. There's a lot silly in this world, but very little impossible. Oh? Even when the backs of the cards are a different color? If you pulled that during the game, you'd be caught in no time. Ah. Quite true. That would mean the blue card in question was swapped after the hands were shown. After the murder. Okay, this is going past silly and straight on to crazy. I ask again, what's the point of cheating after the game's over? Why would, who would do that? Who indeed? That's one of the mysteries before us. There's another? Yes, a simple, yet decisive question must be asked. Who swapped the red card for a blue card? What? Who? The game and murder is done. The victim is dead. Only two remain in the room, alive that is. The defendant, Phoenix Wright, and our witness, Olga Orly. Okay, so who was it that swapped the red card for a blue card? It's either Phoenix or Orla. Phoenix did. Well, maybe I'm just thinking too much into it, but I was thinking that the reason that Phoenix changed the cards was so that he could catch Olga in a lie. That's what I was basically thinking, but I guess I was thinking too much into it, because I was thinking that Phoenix changed the cards on purpose so she would remember that there was 3 aces, and then say that, but then the picture shows that there's 3, kings. It must have been Olga who swapped the cards. She was trying to cover up evidence of the cheating. That does make some sense. Sorry. There's a problem with that explanation. Huh? Swap card was from the wrong deck. Yes, a blue card was stuck into a red hand. Mixing a card from the wrong deck when the backs are different colors. Remember that you're talking about Olga Orly. She was the dealer. You really think she would make such a novice mistake? Actually, I have trouble imagining even a judge making that mistake. Give it a little more thought, Apollo. Right. Someone else? The one who swapped the cards wasn't Mr. Right, of course. And, well, it doesn't seem like it could have been Olga Orly either. What are you suggesting? That's hardly a logical conclusion, I'll admit. As a defense, I think it only makes sense for you to name Miss Orly at this point. Yes, I know. But she was the one who was dealt the cards, right? I just can't believe she would make the mistake of swapping the wrong colored card. And if the card was swapped during the game, it'd be obvious. Something you'd like to share with the court, Mr. Wright? Oh, my apologies, Your Honor. I was just thinking how much fun all this is. Fun? How about confusing? I have no idea what the defense is claiming, Your Honor. If the one who swapped the cards wasn't the defendant, and it wasn't Miss Orly, then who was it? Yeah, well, that is the question, isn't it? Precisely. So it has to be somebody who doesn't know about poker? I believe we're about to see this case take a new direction. A new direction? We'll find that, indeed, after the murder, someone swapped one of the cards in the victim's hand. And that someone made 2 critical mistakes. I'm sure you're going to tell us the first was swapping the wrong color card, because the one who did the swap didn't know 2 colors of cards were being used. The other mistake was a number on the card. The number on the card. Wait a second. Right. The person replaced the 5th ace with a king. I'm sure whoever swapped it wasn't expecting there to be a 5th ace after all. All they knew was the game had been won with a full house. So they picked up a king from the table and swapped it in. But there's one problem. According to our case record, this person doesn't exist. True, not until now, but you have to admit the possibility of a 4th person. Though it's more than a possibility. There was someone else there that night at the scene of the crime. The guard looking through the window! It was the guard that looks through the window. What? Remember that they said... The judge spoke truth earlier. You do make trials ridiculous, Mr. Wright. This trial is proceeded on one central assumption. Namely, that at the time of the incident, there was only 3 people in that room. I believe this new evidence, shall we say, overturns that assumption. The problem is that you chose to conceal this information from the court. I suppose that is a problem, yes. Court is adjourned for a brief recess. Mr. Gavin, I'll see you in my chambers during this recess. Certainly, Your Honor. Very well. The trial will resume in 20 minutes. What the hell is going on? April 20th, 11:52 a.m. District Court, defendant, lobby number 3. That was quite unexpected, Mr. Wright. You suddenly claimed there was another person at the scene of the crime like that. I must ask, is it the truth? Well, now, I think you would, know the answer to that. Ah, being mysterious, are we? Sadly, I have no time for mysteries. I've only asked that you leave the defending to your defense in the future. Otherwise, I cannot guarantee the outcome. I'm curious if it was Kristoff that was in the room. I see you haven't mellowed out one bit, Kristoff. Justice. Yes, sir. The judge has summoned me to his chamber, so carry on without me. You did well, Apollo. Can I ask you something? Sure. That locket you wear, is that really yours, Mr. Wright? Ah, you're wondering about the victim's disappearing locket. Here, you can take a look at it. That's the picture of my daughter in there. I'm just surprised to hear you had a daughter. Most people are, perhaps, you'll meet her one of these days. One more question. The one who cheated that night, was it you? What do you think? Huh? You know what happened 7 years ago, what I did. It's not unreasonable for you to think I might cheat. I never, honest, but it is odd that he managed to go undefeated for 7 whole years. Want to know something? There's only one game where you can be dealt bad cards all night and still win. Poker. Ah. You see, poker is all about reading your opponent. In that way, it is a lot like a court case. Poker is like trial law. Figure out what your opponent is thinking, and you win. Well, yeah. That's harder than it sounds. I think not. Try as they might to conceal it, everything reveals true thoughts in the end. Their body language can become a valuable source of information. You're kidding. That witness, for instance, Miss Orley. She would touch the back of her neck during certain parts of her testimony. Did you notice? No. Come on, who noticed that? That could be a sign that somebody's lying. If somebody has, like, weird hand gestures, touches things, that could be a sign that they're lying. One big sign that people are lying is when people don't maintain eye contact. If somebody, like, looks at the wall, looks at the floor, the ceiling, when they're talking it to you, that's a sign that they're lying. Why? Because they can't look you straight in the eye because they have to focus on you. If they focus on something else, it's a lot easier for them to think of something that didn't happen, make up a story. Words, habits, twitches. It's all information for the reading. That's a secret to winning, Apollo. Someone taught me, and now I pass the secret on to you. But, I'm not worthy. I mean, there's no way I'll pick up on these signals. No, you can do it. Huh? You just don't know it yet. What's he talking about? But you will soon. Ah, almost forgot. One more thing. About this case. You should know, I haven't told the truth to anyone yet. What? I knew it! I have my reasons, of course. All shall be revealed. And Apollo, I need you to be there, defending me. I need your power. My, power. I had no idea my cords of steel were that special. It's time. The real trial begins now. Do your best. To be continued. Okay. I guess we will leave it off here. I always leave it off on the to be continued parts. That's always the part that I leave it off on. Yeah, let me know what you guys think of the game. We're having a lot of fun so far. But there is, I think the case, Turnabout Trump, I think that's a reference to a Trump card. I think that's probably what it's a reference to. But we're gonna see, I guess, how this case goes forward. But, please no spoilers in the comments, guys. But let me know what you think. What's happening, what's going on here. But Phoenix is saying he's not being completely truthful. I'm wondering if Kristoff was in the room, too. Because remember, Kristoff said he was with Phoenix that night. So I'm wondering if Kristoff was also in the room, but I guess we're gonna find out. But whoever swapped the cards doesn't know much about poker. That's the thing. But Kristoff seemed like he knew about poker, so maybe it wasn't him. But we're gonna see exactly what's going on here on the next part. So thank you guys for watching. I hope that you guys enjoyed this part. If you did, do drop a like, and I will see you guys on the next one. Take care, everyone. Have a wonderful day, guys.